Coach, Ty Wilson from Commonwealth Times. You talked about how this game was.
No, you want me to do that?
You talked about how this game was about from all the way from the last game last season. How were you able to kind of take what you learned from last season in its entirety at VCU and bring it into this season for the new players and the players coming back to instill in them to prepare for this big moment?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't have to do much. I mean, they felt the emotion of that, last year. The guys that decided to come back and play another season, that had COVID years. Obviously, Max, they set that locker room after that game, and it was hard to recover from that. We ended up going to the NIT, and the mood, certainly wasn't what everybody wanted, and had worked for. We'd had a hard year. We'd had a lot of injuries. We'd had stuff that we had to deal with, that particular season that was just a little bit odd. And once we finally got it going and we were right there, to win it, we had a really bad half. And that first half, I don't think any of us going into that game felt like, we felt like we were meant to be there. And we had gone through all of these struggles, over the course of that season, and had continued to fight and continued to fight and continued to fight, and we felt we were kind of destined to do it. And Duquesne and Coach Dambrot and their team had other plans, and they came out and played a great game, and did a wonderful job down the stretch of that game to come out with a victory. And our guys were determined in this season to not let that happen again, and to have, a fabulous year, and to play every game like it's your last, and practice, and prepare in the right way. And so we have a very mature group, and, one that, is very coachable and listens, but more importantly, they really care about one another. They love one another, and so they're very connected. And you can see that, in the celebrations. You can see that on the court. There's certainly times where we don't all agree in what's going on, and we all have to agree to let something go. And that's the true team, and it's not going to be, Max's night every night, and or Joe's night every night. We need an entire group, to step up. And I thought you saw that, throughout the tournament. Jack obviously was most outstanding player, but there were other key players. Michael Bell came in again, in this game, and made a big impact, at a key time. We were in foul trouble. We had played that lineup all year. Michael and Jack at 3 and 4 in a center, and 2 guards. We hadn't done that, really. And, they performed well, in that moment.
Coach, third row on your left.
Jay Kopsnick, Big 5 Podcast. Coach, for you, this is the third program that you've taken to the NCAA tournament. And each time you've done that, it's been in the second year that you've been at these places. So to do it at different programs and do it so quickly, how does that happen?
Yeah, it's the players. It's the players and the hard work of the staff that I'm fortunate enough to work with. It's the administration. It's their vision. Obviously this place is used to winning, and the expectations are to win. Utah State was the same. You go in there and you walk into the locker rooms of these places, and you see, on the wall, the list of all the NCAA tournament years, right? And how far did they advance in that particular year? It's easy to see when you walk into BDC and you see that Final Four from 2011, and you see all the championships and regular season championships and conference championships on the wall in NCAA tournaments. And this group was determined, the last time that, VCU had missed consecutive years was 2004. And so this team did not want to be that team, the first to do that. And so every day we walked in, we would look up at that wall, and I'd remind them when they weren't feeling great about practice or whatever, right, well, you know what you're working for. All right, and you want to put your own stamp on this program, and you can do that because this is a special team. I mean, you look at the metrics and the numbers of this team. It's one of the best A10 teams, like, in a long, long time. from a numbers perspective. And any team can be beaten, and we were. We're beaten on the last regular season game against Dayton, but really proud of the entire group. Because it's when you watch it on TV or you come to the Siegel and you just see the players playing, and a lot of the head coaches around the country, they get a lot of the credit, but it's all the people that are involved in the program on a day-to-day basis that put in the work for these kids to have the success that they so desire.
Zach.
Coach, you talked about this team's maturity throughout the season. We've talked a lot about their collective experience. You have one of the more experienced teams in the country. Did you see that shine yesterday when Loyola took the lead late, and today when George Mason cut it to 1 late?
Yeah, no question. The poise was there. The confidence was there, even though we were a bit shaken, at those times. But that's part of college basketball. Like you're going to be tested, and the teams that are able to respond and dig in and play tough and play tougher, and make big plays, and not be afraid of those plays. I think you heard Max talking about that. Over there, it's like he missed a lot of shots in this tournament. Like there's no secret, to that. Like a bit uncharacteristic, some wide open ones. He had one in the corner, where Joe, it was an awesome play, and it just didn't go in. And sometimes you're going to have those moments in tournaments, but when it mattered most, he got the switch and he banged the shot, and then we were able to get the stops, down the stretch.
Go on the aisle.
Tyler Cronin, 3-bid league. Coach, I just wanted to know what was the message for the players going into the game for trying to disrupt Jalen Haynes?
Yeah, I mean, it was the way you disrupt is to not let him catch as easy. And so the goal was to force him to catch it further out. You're not going to keep him from catching it all the time. If he catches it into the full court, we want to pressure him. They didn't do that as much in this game. They did that some in the game in Richmond. And Luke and some of those guys were able to pressure them, and so they had a good plan in terms of not wearing him down. But he's a go-to player for them, and he is really tough to defend. And our guys just had to do their best one-on-one, but then try to keep him off balance with flexing and some traps occasionally, because we knew he was going to catch it. The key was not letting him catch it as many times in the middle of the court, and it's not easy to do. But we've got two really athletic front court guys that once you get to the rim, they're pretty quick, they're pretty athletic.